Well, tonight we're very honored to bring to our show the new CEO of the American Radio League, Tom Gallagher. And Tom, welcome to this great fun program. We appreciate you being here.
Gordon, thank you. I'm sorry, Bob and Gordon, thank you both for having me on. I was hoping your standards would be higher, but I'll take it. Thanks.
No, we're fine with that. There is so much going on at the league, and we realize that you're a very busy man, so thank you for taking your time tonight. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, we've talked a lot about being on, but there's a specific reason, and that's what the ARRL has going this weekend. You're sponsoring a great event, and along with the RSGB, Radio Society of Great Britain, and the Radio Club of America. Tell us a little bit about what's going to happen Sunday.
Okay, so on Sunday we are going to attempt to recreate the contact that took place on December 11th, 1921, between a station in Greenwich, Connecticut called 1BCG and a station in Androsian, Scotland, 2Z Echo, manned by Paul Godley, in connecting the first transatlantic shortwave transmission.
Wow.
It's really, let me tell you why it's exciting, and then let me tell you how this thing came to be, because it's kind of quixotic, as most good things are. This is a really important event. Only 95 years ago, the only way you could send a message to Europe was on a boat, in a letter, or on the transatlantic telegraph cable. And then Marconi had his installation, but it was very, very long wave, slow, and you know that better than I. But a bunch of experimenters, a bunch of people like us, just amateurs, figured there was a better way, and they wanted to push the frontiers. So they gathered up Major Edwin Armstrong, a man who invented FM and a bunch of other things, and a local ham in Greenwich called Minton Cronkite. And they sent Paul Godley over to Androsian, Scotland, with the best super het receiver that was available. Along the way, he met Dr. Beveridge of antenna fame, and they erected first a 1,300-foot antenna, and then they shortened it up to 800 feet. And on the 21st, on the 11th of December, 95 years ago, the first signals were received in Scotland and certified actually by the local Marconi district agent. This is an extraordinary accomplishment. These are guys just like us, and their doggedness and their persistence, being in the snow in Greenwich, and poor Godley was over in Scotland in a tent, and it rained most of the time he was there. He was there for several months. They just wouldn't accept failure. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to try and make that connection, and then we're going to just open it up to a QSO party. We've got a great QSL card. It's going to bear the logos of RCA and ARRL and Radio Society of Great Britain. And the call sign over in Britain will be Paul Godley's call sign, GS2ZE.
Wow. That is terrific, Tom. Now, Tom, what frequencies? You're probably not going to use the ones back then. Which ones will we use this Sunday? Over.
We're going to try for 160 on AM. We're just going to try for that. And we've been we're being hosted by a local school in the area, so we don't have to stand in the rain. But we're going to be 80-40-20. And CW sideband, and we'll attempt AM. And all of the particulars are in the ARRL letter last week, and we'll resend them. Thursday. We'll resend it in the ARRL letter. So they'll be right there, and they're in QST this month. So look for us, join in, and let's celebrate this enormous accomplishment.
Wow.
And it's fun. It's just really fun. But if you got a minute, I'll tell you how it came to be, because it's really interesting. I think I told Bob part of the story. I was in W1HQ on a Sunday night, tuning up around 75 meters, and I heard 3-4 guys in a QSO on AM, and I gotta confess, I love listening to AM. It sounds so good. It sounds like broadcasting. And at the end of the QSO, one of the participants was Clark, N1BCG, and so I said to him, "That's a really famous call sign. I know that call sign." Got on the phone with him the next day. He told me how he was able to get the 1BCG call sign and make it his own. And he's been a student of this event and early wireless experimentation in Connecticut. So I said, well, how about we got 2 months? How about we have a special event? He jumped on board. Radio Society of Great Britain jumped on board. Tim Duffy over at Radio Club of America jumped on board. And my masters at ARRL said, let's do this. And I think it's typical of the kind of stuff that we'd like to do more of in the future. National Parks on the Air has been very successful. In fact, National Parks on the Air is just 200 QSOs short of 1 million. So guys, get out there, please. Sean will die if we don't get 1 million Qs. Anyway, so it all came out of a conversation on AM, and that's made us think that maybe we need an AM event. And so we're going to go for an AM event sometime in the spring. We don't want to plan these things out too far. We'd like to make them more timely and build them around a historical context so people can not only operate, but they can also talk about the history of what they're operating in, the environment they're in.
Wow, that is just terrific, Tom. Well, we'll go to the higher bands, maybe 10 meters or 15, and see if we can hear you out here on 6 land. And Bob, you're going to be tuning in double sideband, correct, Bob?
I will be there. I'm there a lot. What we have to do is let the whole fraternity know that there's still AM windows. That's been a real problem. 3870 to 3890 and 7290 to 7295. Those are windows, and the sideband and CW ops, they need to pay attention and let the AMers have their little window. That was a gentleman's agreement back in the 1950s. I got my license shortly after that whole thing, or shortly before all that thing took place. So I was there and launched it with them. So that would be great to hear the ARRL and W1AW. And Tommy, you have some things coming up with the bulletins too next year on AM. Is that true?
We do. AM 40 meters. We have just been donated from another museum make sure I get it right, Gates broadcast transmitter, 1 kW broadcast transmitter, which is going to be Bob Allison's project. Bob and a couple of other folks in the lab are going to carve it back to 40 meters and put it on the air. We're fortunate that the transmitter is in mint condition, and it uses very inexpensive tubes. So it doesn't use the big, expensive, hard-to-find broadcast variety. And it's a plate-modulated AM transmitter. We're going to find something to do with it. I don't know whether it would be reliable enough for Joe Karsha to run bulletins on. Joe has a hard job enough over there taking W1AW on the air. But we will definitely put it to use, I promise you.
Yeah, that'll be great. And just to be able to let people know about the AM activity, well, that's just great news, especially the parts. Is that just 200 contacts is all we need, right?
Exactly, 200 for the parks, and we'll be at 1 million. We'll be at 1 million QSOs in Logbook of the World. So don't forget to put them in the Logbook of the World. But
Exactly.
this has been, I mean, I have to tell you, and I thank the amateur radio community one and all for making this an incredibly successful event. Not only have people had fun and gotten out of the basement and gone out on the trails and parks in America, but they've learned so much about the history of the national park system and the history of their country, of our country, in the whole process. And they've met great rangers from the National Park Service who could not be more helpful. And so we wish we could find another one of these, and we're working on it. We're trying to figure out something to do. You know, it's always in any organization is, what are you going to do next, right?
Exactly. Well, maybe we can come up with something. By the way, here's the QSL card, or a copy of it, that I think will be out and about once people get working this weekend. That'll be great. And this is going to happen Saturday on the AM, in the AM windows. So be listening for the call and talk to each other.
Bob, Sunday.
Sunday. And what time?
We're starting at noon Greenwich. We're starting at noon Greenwich.
That's great.
So check the ARRL letter.
All right. Well, I want you also to let people know how they can join the ARRL. They absolutely need to join the league, and tell them the best, easiest way to do that, because it's a worthwhile thing for sure.
Thank you. Just join us by going to our website, arrl.org. You can do it right online. Makes it easy for our support staff. You can join at a Hamfest. Walk up to the ARRL booth. You can send me an email, and I'll join you, or a telephone call. But it's so important because the league does many good things in amateur radio. And in the past 10 years, you know, we fought the good fight with Little Leos. We fought the good fight with Spectrum Defense. And right now we're just up to our elbows in alligators on HR 1301, which is the Amateur Radio Parity Act. And, you know, it consumes a lot of resources, but more important than resources is the support of the amateur radio community. So join us. We'll be grateful.
That is probably the most important thing right now, because that will give the amateurs a way to put up antennas where you have huge HOA problems, and you're pretty close to getting that done after all these years, right?
We are as close as we've ever gotten, Bob, and it's been the absolutely dogged work of Chris Imlay and Hudson Division Director Mike Lysenko, who have gone back and forth to Washington almost every week. If we don't make it in this congressional session, we'll do it in the next one. We meet resistance sometimes from HOA people who just don't understand what the law is providing us with. It's providing hams with a seat at the table to get permission for an amateur radio antenna, which is effective. And it gives them standing, if you know what I mean, in a legal sense.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the guys don't know how much work you guys do behind the scenes, but it's all here every month. There's so much stuff to read in QST, and I really applaud everything you are doing, and we're happy to have new faces, and we'll come back and talk about some of the other things. Maybe when you hit that million mark, we'll come back and talk about all that and anything else you need. We're always here, and I really appreciate you coming on and being with us tonight, Tom.
Bob, it's my pleasure. Anytime. Gordon, just call and I'll jump on Skype and we can talk. Thanks for all you do for the amateur radio community, both of you guys.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. And Tom, Bob Inderbetson has talked me into, and he didn't have a hard job in supporting some of the bricks that are outside of league headquarters. So you can tell Bob, and you'll be seeing our brick coming up shortly, maybe a couple of them. And that's a great program for those that are life members of the league or just league members. Look into some of the great programs that the league needs some financial help on, and you'll have your name and call on a brick out front in headquarters. Is that right, Tom?
That's absolutely right. And when I see your brick, I'm going to salute it every time I leave the office in the afternoon.
Roger that. Tom, thank you so much for coming on board. We are honored to have you, and I look forward to working the 10-meter ARRL contest this weekend. I'm going to listen real hard down on 75 and 160 in the double sideband mode. Who knows? Maybe all the way around the world and back again, you may hear a 6 calling. Over.
Well, over. Thank you, guys. 73s and all the best.
Okay, thanks for coming, Tom. We'll talk to you next time and see you on AM this weekend for sure.